Good morning. I am Charlene Reynolds Santo, a member of the Worship Arts team, and I welcome you to our Summer of 2020 virtual Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading community. UUCR is a regional church, for the time being, virtually serving friends and members from this area and beyond, and where you are welcome to be yourself. Whether you are spending your summer in quarantine, outside enjoying nature, traveling, maybe only in your imagination. If your life is completely under control or in some level of chaos, you are welcome here. You're welcome to this virtual space and in our collective hearts. If you are watching this service during its initial broadcast at 10 a.m. on August 16th, please join us after the service in our Zoom fellowship hall for small group conversation. It's a great way to keep connected and to check in with others in our church community. The link to this Zoom meeting can be found in the weekly UUCR newsletter, and I hope to see you there. I want you to know that Reverend Hank, Sally, Melissa, Al, Roald, and myself, along with all staff and volunteers here at UUCR, are so glad that you have chosen to spend this time with us this morning, and we hope you will be back. Now please get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy today's service.
Good morning. My name is Sally Liebermann, and my pronouns are she and her. It's good to be together on a Sunday morning in the summer of 2020, a summer quite unlike any other. Today, we will honor the changes in our hearts and minds and acknowledge the unique events of this year that have changed our lives and the way that we operate in the world. We will reflect upon how we can hold each other and ourselves in our highest intention, and we will remind ourselves of our commitment to justice. We will lean in toward community, and we will move forward together. Let us join our hearts and our voices as we lift our spirits in song with hymn number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a Please join us as we light our Unitarian Universalist chalice, a symbol of our free faith. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek.
Hi friends, Sally here again. I was so inspired by Rold's video this morning where he visited all of the familiar places around church and used things that we recognize to do things so differently. So I thought I would take us on a little walking tour around church so you can see how things are here. What's the same? What's different? So a season has passed since we've been together. We were last here in March, and then springtime came. People went to school online. We didn't come back to church. And now we are past the half point in summer. There's Loring where some of us have classes. Here's the side door where some of you come in if you're walking in from the neighborhood or you're parking over here or out on the street. And here's where we sit majestically at the corner of Summer Ave and Woburn Street. And I love seeing some of you online. We've all changed so much already. Some of us are growing really fast. We're learning new things all the time. Some of us spend our summer on vacation, going new places and familiar places. Other folks stayed put and didn't do things that they're used to doing, and that was different. Some people are okay with that. Some people are sad. A lot's going on in our world right now, just kind of like all this traffic right here happening at the corner. And sometimes it's hard to keep attention and focus on one thing or two things, or what the most important essential things are. So we try and block out the noise, just like this traffic. And we try and concentrate on what's important. Do we remember? Black Lives Matter. We put up that sign after the death of George Floyd. Our church wanted to make a statement that we are people committed to justice and seeking a society that can be anti-racist. We know that racism happens when people are harmed because of the color of their skin or other perceived and imagined differences. We have learned that our society makes white people often the center of stories and systems, and that is not fair, and it's not the right way to live. And we have made a commitment as a church to learn more about how we can be part of changing that. Let's take a look and see what's inside. Does this look familiar? I'm going to close the door and it's going to get quiet. Melissa's not here, but let's imagine her smiling and welcoming us warmly. You'll see her in video in just a few minutes. She recorded her part of the service already. Here are busy boxes, waiting for people to come back and get busy with them. Here are name tags. Do you know where yours is? Did you take yours home? And here, friends, here we are back in our lovely, lovely sanctuary. We won't see Reverend Hank today, but we'll see him again soon. Mary and the choir are learning all kinds of new ways to sing together while they're not together in body, but they can share their voices and use technology and make amazing things happen. Rold is doing our summer music. Here we are, friends, back to church. Oh, here we are this morning in the summer of 2020, a summer like no other, a summer that's brought us learning, a summer that may have brought us some loss, a summer that's brought us great change and invited us to learn new things. And when we learn new things, to make choices differently. We're growing and we're knowing. I thank Aaron for bringing to us a reading from one of our summer stories. Here's Aaron now.
Our reading is an excerpt from Not My Idea, a book about whiteness. Skin color makes a difference in how the world sees you and in how you see the world. It makes a difference in how much trouble seems to find you or let you be. You may get the message that racism is happening only to Black and brown people. Racism is a white person's problem, and we are all caught up in it. Understanding the truth takes courage. Racism is not your idea. You do not need to defend it. You can bring your curiosity to learn about it and see that it's true. Being here alive in this moment, you have a chance to care about this, to connect. Go with your instincts on this one. Racial justice is possible. Your history is not all written yet. What do you want to say?
Good morning. I'm Melissa Martin, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Our Unitarian Universalist faith encourages each of us to develop our own personal faith, drawn from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient tradition, as described in our 6 sources. From Buddhism, we learn of the Buddha's teachings and the concept of metta, or loving kindness. Developing loving kindness is an essential way of eliminating our codependence of suffering. Metta is also said to be the antidote to selfishness, anger, and fear. Buddhist scholars tell us that there are 3 ways to practice metta loving kindness. The first is applying metta loving kindness to our day-to-day behavior and choices. The second is through metta meditation. The third is a commitment to fully embody metta loving kindness, and this grows from the practice of the first 2. I start each day with my metta meditation, sending loving kindness to a range of people and to the world. And I hope that as I write the rest of my own history, that it will be one dedicated to loving kindness and to working towards justice and peace for all. This morning, I invite you to join me in meditation as we take a few moments to quiet our minds, notice our breath, and imagine what might be possible. In this moment, notice your breath. Be aware of your chest rising with each breath in. and falling with each breath out. Simply notice without judgment. Now take a moment to notice your body right now, allowing it to soften and relax. Be aware of your chest rising with each breath in and falling with each breath out. Simply notice without judgment, feeling your body supported under you. In this moment, simply be here. In this moment, you are not being judged. In this moment, you do not need to represent your entire race. In this moment, you can feel any emotions that come to you. In this moment, you can know that you are loved and that you belong here. Take a moment now to notice the beating of your heart. Maybe even bring a hand or two to your heart center. Here, I invite you to allow love to fill your heart center, thinking of someone or something that you love. As your heart fills with love, notice that feeling and the warmth it may embody. Here you might also notice other feelings too. You might notice the way you're feeling today about racial injustice. Maybe from something you've experienced or something you've witnessed. Maybe a pattern that you see in your life or in our country. Maybe as you reflect and contemplate your own learning and unlearning of identities, histories, and social constructs that you may have benefited from. Simply be aware of how this feels in your body. Notice how it manifests without judgment. Return your sense of awareness to your heart center. Notice anything you might feel in your heart. Again, think of someone or something that you love. Now, in your mind or aloud, repeat these meditation words after me. May I be healthy and happy. May Black people be happy and healthy. May we all be healthy and happy. May I ride the waves of my life and be well. May Black people ride the waves of their lives and be well. May we all ride the waves of our lives and be well. May I live in peace. May Black people live in peace. May we all live in peace. May you open yourself up to healing and loving energy, feeling the warmth of love in and around you. And may you receive the repair or restoration that you desire and deserve. Let us now center ourselves in prayer. This week, we celebrate with Jessica Swindell and Stefan Weinitz as they welcome their new son, Alexandra Henry Weinitz, born on August 5th. Big brother Sam and big sister Allison share in their joy. May they enjoy these summer days with their now complete family. May we also keep member Rachel Fetters in our thoughts as she mourns the loss of her grandmother. Rachel shares with us this morning, my paternal grandmother, Clarette Junetta Smith, passed away on August 2nd at home at the age of 96, surrounded by four of her children. She was blessed to have many grandchildren and great-grandchildren who have always been her pride and joy. May Rachel find solace in her warm memories as we pray for her grandmother and all those we have lost this summer. Spirit of life and love, in our renewed commitment to dismantle racism, give us strength to face the roles we have played, words we have spoken, or those we have left unspoken. Help us to be brave as we step outside of our comfort to mourn and to grieve so that we may continue to learn and grow. Please help us to remember that our identities are ever changing from moment to moment, and that what we say and do about race in each moment determines what, not who we are. Help us to speak out against institutional racism and the systems that keep racism alive, including using our voices, privilege, and votes to make systemic change. While self-reflection is important, may we remember that it is not enough, and may we keep learning directly from our anti-racist educators who can help us along this lifelong learning process. May we cultivate the ability to have honest conversations, accept that we will make mistakes along our anti-racist path, and to commit with love to walking this path anyway. May we begin to walk the long road of change with presence, compassion, courage, and love, so that Black, Indigenous, and people of color can live peacefully with dignity and equality. Blessed be, and amen.
The summer of 2020, a summer like no other. When Melissa and I signed up for today's service back in June, UUCR had just raised a Black Lives Matter banner and published a resolution stating that we as a community acknowledge that putting up a banner is not a sufficient response to this moment of crisis and change, but rather a symbol of our determination to do the work of justice and healing. That resolution charges each of us, member, friend, staff person, to acknowledge our responsibility to learn more than we know, and to explore our own identities that we may understand our individual and collective privilege. Our resolution calls on us to engage directly with movements acting for change. Our leaders remind us that we must be, or we must get, uncomfortable and grounded in our liberal faith and Unitarian Universalist principles. This morning marks the 83rd sunrise since George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis. Since the protests that rose in the hours following Mr. Floyd's death, we as a country have learned hard, brutal truths from our shared American history, much of which was not widely and certainly not uniformly known to those educated in America. People have reached for information, and in the past months, books, films, podcasts, talk shows, social media have rapidly educated a society that has never acknowledged truth of how Black, Indigenous, people of color have suffered as dominant white culture established norms and systems that sought to marginalize and erase them. Only recently has there been some shared national awakening to realities of systemic racism embedded in our social, economic, and cultural constructs. We can call this a hard awakening. The intentional, efficient ways that our systems of power have and do oppress people of color are horrifying. Learning hard things hurts. And as our hearts wrench and break, we know that pain delivered with hard truth holds no measure to the suffering of Black and Brown and Indigenous people who share this country's history. We know that to look away is an action born of complicit privilege. We remind ourselves to stay in learning space, to read, to talk, and to engage with justice-making movements. How are you doing with all of this? For some of us, summer days have brought rest, time to read, to reflect, and even to study. For some of us, summer brought hours of work, Zoom, childcare, and never-ending on time. Some of us look forward to fall, to cooler temperatures and earlier sunsets. Some of us look toward this fall of 2020 with confusion and concern. As we move toward the next season of COVID-19, some of us look forward with dread. How do we hold this, all of this? How can we hold space and attention for the necessary justice work of our time when all that we know is changing and uncertain? How do we hold ourselves together when our sustaining relationships and connections may be disrupted by disease, loss, and fear? Earlier in our service, we were talking about this summer of 2020 and what we've been doing, what we've been missing, and what we've been learning. Some of you shared that you spent really good time in your neighborhoods, in your gardens. You got to explore your town forests and met friends who live close by, who you've never known. Some of you have been working and quarantining and caring for children. Some of you have been swimming and diving and kayaking and beaching. Some of you have been visiting loved ones in yards and through doors and windows. Some of us are grieving. Some are lonely for loved ones, and lost time to spend together. Some of you figured out ways to camp and go on vacation, while others missed beloved traditions, gatherings, and rituals. I've been staying close to home with a small circle of family and friends. I miss seeing my aunt and my stepmom, but I'm grateful that this summer has not been hard for me. There's one major thing I've missed. For the first time in 15 years, I did not go to Ferry Beach for a July week with my kids and my colleagues. We go to RE Week, Religious Education Week, each year. It's a conference for religious professionals who can attend, get their professional development hours in, while their loved ones, their families, can be on vacation with them. We've gone for 15 years, and my kids have formed lifetime friend and partnerships there. I have too. All of that is sweet, and I'm glad to share it with you, but what I really want to tell you about is my classes at Ferry Beach. For the past 5 years, I've taken trainings focused on multicultural ministry, anti-racism, anti-oppression, and white supremacy. My instructors have been Unitarian Universalist religious leaders of color who dedicated their time to mine and my colleagues' learning about whiteness, in my case, my own whiteness, and my relationship to white supremacy. My learning in that space was often uncomfortable. Sometimes I was twitchy and defensive and ashamed of myself, my family, and my history. When I was fragile, I was not comforted nor rejected. I was coached to move to my next learning edge. Each year, I was asked to write my personal racial autobiography. Diving into my own history has helped me understand how my whiteness was formed and how to identify ways that I interact with the world as a white person. I did not go to Ferry Beach this year, but I did write an updated version of my racial autobiography last week. My 2020 version includes recognizing that my dedicated instructors there expected that I would learn hard things. I didn't fully appreciate the magnitude of that learning in that place, in that setting, with those instructors until this summer. And I want to name that here with you. Friends, this is a unique moment in time. Not only has the coronavirus brought much of humanity to its knees, responses to the danger of the virus have cast glaring light on inequities in systems that overwhelmingly harm people of color. Everything feels hard, and everything feels related. How do we work for justice and take care of ourselves so that our families are safe and cared for while a pandemic rages? If we are fortunate that our families are safe and cared for during a pandemic, do we not have the responsibility to continue and engage in our justice-making work? How do we care for each other to ensure that our human family is safe and cared for? I'd like to suggest that one way we can work toward this is to come to church. If you have not been attending summer services, then you may have not heard Roald begin our summer with his own invitation to humility and commitment to racial justice. That kind of statement might just be a spark that invites you toward your own inspiration for a week or a day or the morning. If you have been watching, then you have seen the humility and courage of congregants who've returned from life-threatening situations and very long walks. From them, you may be reminded that no one is brave every moment of every journey. You may have heard stories that celebrate gifts that come from surrender and from perceived inadequacies. And you may remember that time changes and transforms everything and everyone. You've heard firm and loving counsel from the experts in our congregation that self-care is absolutely necessary and empowers you to be more fully present to others who love, need, and challenge you. You have been invited into a metta meditation, a practice that shares loving kindness with you, your loved ones, and all of creation, whether you practice or receive, or both. You get to share silence with lovely, trusted friends. You may have heard calm, clear guidance to both seek and accept the dangers and the joys of this life. And you may have been reassured that our world has always been beautiful and broken. Our world is very different than it was when we were last together. We've lived and learned, and we've left behind waves of being that we will not get back. Our knowing of things is different. We are different, and we have to be. We are called now more than ever to care for ourselves and for each other. There are hard truths that we must hold, and there is work that we must do. But we are different now, and we are here, and we can move forward together. Now more than ever, we can hold and carry for one another. We can witness for one another and share our learning. We can help each other to our next learning edges. And when we're tired and we cannot do the work we wish we could do, we can trust that someone will fill in for us until we can. May we hear the calling of these times and share our courage, moving forward with trust in one another toward the new season. Blessed be us on our journey together. Amen.
As we continue to find ways to support the community beyond the walls of this virtual church, we give half of the funds collected each week to a nonprofit organization. This is not because we have more than we need, but because there is so much need, and this is a simple way that each of us can help heal the world. This summer, Bread and Roses, a soup kitchen located in Lawrence, Mass, will receive our donation. UUCR has been supporting Bread and Roses since 2012 by providing the meal for the first Saturday of every month. And about once a year, our youth bake cookies for them. Our connection to Bread and Roses runs deep. We all know marginalized communities in this country, especially during this pandemic, need support. And this is what Bread and Roses does to help sustain the Lawrence area. Due to COVID-19, Bread and Roses closed their doors in mid-March when they could no longer serve safely their communal meals. Bread and Roses continues to connect with individuals and families across Lawrence, utilizing its 2 outreach vans to deliver bulk meals and food to churches and agencies serving the most vulnerable in Lawrence. With this congregation's help, and that of many other churches and organizations in the area, Bread and Roses has been able to accelerate their community food outreach efforts by 131% over last year. In the last 12 months, they have served and distributed 403,483 pounds of meals and bulk food to those in need. This Herculean effort to reduce the hardship so many are facing takes all of us. Bread and Roses is leveraging its resources and extensive networks to ensure that those who need assistance receive it when and where they need it. And due to the virus, the need is greater than ever. Until last March, each Sunday, we passed the plate to show our support for our church community. At this time, we are encouraging you to make an online offering. You can use your bank's bill pay feature, or you can use the Give Plus feature on our church's website at uureading.org/connection/donate and select the weekly offering Share the Plate Fund. Of course, checks can be written out and mailed to the church at 239 Woburn Street in Reading, Mass. 01867. Please note that your contribution will be split between the weekly offering and Bread and Roses unless you specify otherwise. I invite you now to give as generously as you are willing and able. Thank you.
extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friends, as we embark on this lifelong journey of living out our UU values, may you lean into our Unitarian Universalist faith as a source of spiritual sustenance, loving kindness, and transformative companionship. May we move forward in this together.